things that attack other things and make things
There's
happen.
there's Ahmed Bolt. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have such a time with this name. I'm just gonna call it Ahmed Bolt. Ahmed Bolt, I guess. Ahmed Bolt. Oh
Ahmed
my
Bolt.
goodness. There is an elemental shaman. I have never ever ever seen ABC Easiest 123 run anything other than RMD. And then their first game in the GPL, the whole qualifier they ran RMD, by the way. The whole qualifier. They had some tough matches, but they always stuck to RMD. And now their first game against DK Windwalker, and it's an elemental shame. This might explain why we just had a 15-minute wait for them to get out of an arena game, by the way, if they were running this comp. But I really hope that it works out because I'm expecting a brilliant game after this delay.
Yeah, Jingo running in, getting rooted up. Zonica actually pushing forward and taking the opposite team's pillar. We can see the Elemental Shaman building up a little bit of damage. Tog Turkin getting gripped in, but he actually just shadow melds and blinks away right away. They do decide to actually overlap the Sham Rage and Ironbark, and that wasn't Pillar of Frost. This is a big overreaction from ABC, and I'm curious if Jingo can punish it. It seems like Jingo's just having to hide. He's taking so much damage. He's just behind the pillar. Zonica eating so much crowd control right now. FedEx forced to use his defensive cooldown now as well to reduce damage. Zonica still getting cloned up. Finally now leaving the CC. They need to make some work done here over onto the Elemental Shaman. Here comes the Fist of Fury. He's going to knock them back with that Thunderstorm. Really good Thunderstorm breaking up the damage, but there still aren't a lot of defensive cooldowns. He
Oh,
strangulates him on the NS. He barely trinkets in time, but suddenly Jingo's just getting exploded. Just so much damage following it up. He's so low on HP. Zonica barely topping him in time, and they need to keep this pressure rolling. Still no defensive cooldowns for the Elemental Shaman. He's in a lot of trouble. Zonica bubbling to get the kill, dishing out a little bit of denounce damage, now following it up with a paralyze. They need more CC, they need more damage, but Daisy Duke's doing a good job shutting down these melee with these polymorphs, and the Elemental Shaman will survive. So despite that overlap of these cooldowns, he will survive to the next rotation.
yeah, and the thing is, ABC Easiest 123 are doing so much damage to Jinga that it doesn't even matter that they don't really have any cooldowns. Although, having said that, Nixie, who is playing the Elemental Shaman for ABC, has to use the Trinket and the Shamrage there. So ABC actually have no defensive cooldowns available, whilst another one do have quite a few. It looks like Jingo's just kind of sitting behind the pillar. He realizes if they survive to the next setup, they can easily kill Nixie, who is playing on Ahmed Bolt, which I'm not going to say again because that is quite a difficult name for me to say for some reason. We do see the steal attempt onto Tag Turk, and this could easily be the kill. The pre-iron back comes out, but will it be enough? The strangulate, can they follow it up? They need to land a hodge or something. Zonica, just look at him, he's just running across the map. Jinko's even dying for it, but if he gets it, it's so worth it. The NS comes out now, he's just chasing him around the pillar. Can they get the hodge? Jinko is dying at the same time though. They need to be so careful here. Jinko down to 20%, he can easily go down. The Deep Priest, surely he's gonna fall. Down to 8%, the full Cyclone coming out. Jingo's in so much trouble. How are you alive right now? He's just lossing behind the pillar, and it looks like ABC uses 1-2-3. Not only have they survived, but they could easily get the kill soon.
Yeah, Daisy Duke's on hypothermia right now, taking a lot of damage. He offensively blocked, offensively blinked in. They were trying to punish him for that, but a Hex on FedEx, a full sheep on Zonica, and Jingo once again is alone in the center of the field, but he stole a clone. He's going to use that on the Elemental Shaman and stop some damage. Daisy Duke's looking to solo Jingo. He's going to use his anti-magic shell. He's going to be able to survive, now getting out of line of sight, avoiding the cast of these wizards. But Zonica, he's caught in the middle of the map. What's he going to do? He's trying to get back to Jingo, barely getting in line of sight, but they swap the pressure to FedEx down to half HP, forced to trade out his diffuse magic, and ABC easy as 1-2-3. Their finger wiggling magic bolts are doing so much damage, forcing so many cooldowns out. They're looking to get very far ahead here. We see the Shamanistic Rage traded out for the Strangulate, so an even trade of cooldowns there. They're trying to keep their momentum. Another sheep on Zonica. Jingo once again in a lot of trouble, trying to get out of line of sight. His Save of the Light's going to proc. He barely gets out of line of sight at half HP. Another clone though onto Zonica. If they can keep this chain going, if they can get back on a Jingo, they might be able to finish it off. It looks like they're reluctant to go behind the pillar. They don't want to get caught off guard by a Fist of Fury. Maybe they even swapped to Zonica. Not too sure here. Tog Turkin into that Fist of Justice. No Shamanistic Rage for the Elemental Shaman here. He's trying to cut into the middle of the map so Daisy Duke can just tee off with casts. We see a defensive paralyze actually on Daisy Duke trying to deny any more Frostwalls, but Jingo's just so much damage. How is he even going to survive? Every time he tries to do something, he just immediately has to run. Zonica's going to trade the bubble. He wants Jingo to stay offensive while there is no Shamanistic Rage, but Tog Turkin's just going to clone him up. FedEx sitting through a full Hex really just can't get much done, and it's not looking very good for another one in this match.
Yeah, it looks like They actually stole the Cyclone now onto Tag Tuck, and can they get any follow-up CC? It looks like the Strangulate off that. They're going to force out the Shamrock. Can they get more? It seems the problem for them is Zonica always pushes across the map to get the Hodge, but he can never reach Tag Tuck, and they're just doing such a good job of stopping him. Every time he tries to commit to it, he just gets caught into CC, and then Jingo starts dying. Jingo might even go down here. AMS not available for 50 seconds. Zonica does get out of the CC. He has his trinket available, but Jingo's in so much trouble. The Cyclone coming out defensively, again stolen by Jingo. Such important plays coming out from him right now. He's getting so many steals on those Cyclones. It's really the only reason that they're still alive. Now a nice low Cyclone coming out from Tag Tuck, and can they swap it over onto CC from Zonica? But ABC, they look quite reluctant to push in. They're just kind of exploiting the fact that another one has to come in to kill them at some point. Zonica has to push for the Hodge, and then they go offensive. And Jingo is down to 1% using that AMS barely in time. The IBF coming out as well. Zonica is struggling so much to topping him off. He doesn't have that wings available for such a long time. The Hodge now does come out onto Tag Tuck, and Trinkets offensively. This might be a slight overstep from ABC, but Jingo is in so much trouble, down to 30% HP. Zonica can't keep him alive. Surely he's going to go down here. A huge heal, though, comes out. He's barely stabilizing at about 30% HP.
Yeah, he's barely getting out of line of sight. Tog Turkin coming in that moose form for a hot bash. Zonika's going to bop himself, but he bops himself into a full polymorph, and Jingo doesn't have very many cooldowns remaining. He's going to interrupt that lava burst, trying to deny any damage, but he's still just taking so much damage. AMS comes out with that Saber of Light. They're trying to turn it around onto the Elemental Shaman. He's going to trade out that Shamanistic Rage to grip Tog Turkin in. He displaces away right away. Zonica popping his Avenger out, but he gets deep frozen on it. He doesn't get a single heal off. Now into the full clone. Jingo is going to go down, and boom, that's it. Can't deal with the finger wigglers forever, and ABC Easy as 1, 2, 3 are going to take game number 1, and they're going to use that composition diversity to their advantage. We've really only seen them play RMD in tournaments online throughout like the past year, and suddenly they just pull out this Elemental Shaman for the first game. I think it definitely caught another one off guard. I don't think they were expecting it.
Okay, I'm happy now. I'm happy. There's nothing that can go wrong at this point. I'm just, it's like. We wait a long time, but finally we see the game, and not only do we not see what we expect, but we see such a close game. I mean, the thing was, it looked so good for not no ladder players, sorry, for another one at the start of that, because they got everything at the start. You remember, like, they got the Ironbark Shamrage overlap, then they got the Trinket because they strangulated the NS. They were just going through cooldown after cooldown. It looked so easy for them, but at the same time, Jingo's just dying the entire game. The Elemental and the Mage just teeing off on him. Zonica struggling so much. Every time his wings is down, he just can't keep him alive. They have to go so defensive, and in the end, that's enough for ABC to take the first game. And I'm really happy to see that these guys have. Like, I don't think Nixie used to be able to play the Elemental Shaman. That is Nixie, of course, playing. And they must have been practicing this. They saw other teams running it successfully, and I'm really happy to see these guys showing some variety. Because, like you say, these guys have been a team for over a year now, and they've always run the RMD.
Just a quick little vote I would like the stream to do. I purposely unhid my mouse cursor so that I could like point at cooldowns and point at things on the screen. So maybe if somebody doesn't know what it looks like, pointing at it would help maybe like learn like, oh, that's that. But if you guys don't like the mouse cursor, you guys can tell me. I'll turn the mouse cursor off. I just thought that would be maybe nice to be able to say it and then point at it so you can just be like, oh, okay, that's what that was. That's what this is, kind of thing. More for like the people that maybe don't play or don't know maybe what every class does, kind of thing. But if you guys don't want the mouse cursor, I can turn it off.
Yep, that's definitely something to consider. This is the nice thing. It's like, sure, we've been having a few technical issues, but of course, Super Tees has so much experience kind of controlling the camera. So, like, after all the previous tournaments you've done it on, it's like so nice. So we are still getting an excellent view of the actual games when we do finally get into them. And I'm so happy that we got into that one because that was such a nice game to watch.
It was.
I'm just trying to get the map. I'm just trying to get the map from another one right now.
I mean, like the start of that match.
Do you predict any comp swaps?
I mean, can Jingo's team even play another comp?
I mean, I don't think they have anything else signed up, like player-wise. But at the same time, I didn't expect the early mage from ABC. So maybe we're getting to that stage in the season where teams realize to succeed, you have to kind of adapt. I mean, DK Windwalk is a very good comp in some situations, but it was close there. It didn't look. DK's didn't just look that robust when they were being done up by an Ellie and a mage.
I don't know. if they could do something different. It seems like Tog Turkin is really slippery. Like every time he gets gripped, he instantly blinks away. Like they don't even get a second to be like, I'm gripping him in. Oh, he's gone. I'm gripping. Oh, he's gone. Like they don't even get a second to figure out what they want to do right after gripping him. So maybe instead they should use their grips on DPS. Like maybe Jingo should just stay at the pillar and grip the elemental shaman to the pillar, or even the mage. Like if he sees him use his blink, like grip him back to the pillar and try and hit him there, because the melee need to be able to hide behind something. It's almost like trench warfare, where as soon as the melee poke their head above the trench, like there's already bullets flying at their head, and then they have to go back down behind the pillar. And so if they can bring the fight to the pillar, I think it would be better for them. That's what
Right.
That's what I would really like to see.
Just waiting. ABC looks like they're just going to buy a slightly different gear setup. So maybe the mage wants different gear for Ellie Mage. Maybe he wasn't actually entirely prepared for it either. Maybe he's going for mastery gear. This is actually one thing about mages right now. They're, because of the damage nerf and the nerf to decrease, mages are playing all different kinds of gear sets right now. You have mages going mastery, just trying to stack the icicles and do that huge burst when they do pop their icicles with the ice lance and all that stuff, and you have other mages going haste because they're focusing more perhaps on the CC, like they identify that like in the shorter deep freeze. Of course, this was changed in the patch notes recently, I think last week, if I remember correctly. It's not necessarily possible to double score now. You can't like sheep and then rov in the deep freeze because you don't have time unless you have like a haste proc and you gear some haste as well. So
Yeah, I think if you don't have icy veins, you can't.
Differences you can, yeah, exactly, a haste proc or icy veins or something like that. There's differences between the mage's gear right now. We're just giving the team one more minute, and then I'm going to queue them up, since they've already had a fair amount of delay time, to say the least. It looks like we are going to Dalaran Sewers. What do you think about that?
I think they need a small map. I think they're afraid of Runes of Lordaeron. It's too open, right? Like they need a box. They need a pillar to LOS the casters. And whereas the casters are going to constantly just never push in. Like they're just happy to sit in the middle. Like they'll even hit Zonica sometimes, I would imagine, and just keep teeing off, just throwing lava bursts, frost bolts at whatever comes in line of sight. And that's kind of the playstyle they're going to go for with this composition. So it's up to the Windwalker DK to say, like, how are we going to make them fight where we want to fight? Like, we can't afford to follow them. You just watch Jingo slowly marching to the middle of the map, and as soon as he gets to the middle of the map, he's already marching back to the pillar because he's at 10% health. So, I mean, maybe they have to use death grips differently. They have to use them to get their target to the pillar and hit them there and try and, like, catch the mage without a blink or something. Because it seems like the mage is playing really aggressively. Like, he was blocking to get CC, and maybe they could punish him more for that. I was really surprised that they couldn't kill the Elemental Shaman at the start when they overlapped the Shaman Rage and the Ironbark. But he saved the Thunderstorm to interrupt the Fist of Fury, and that was the biggest burst that they had. So I'm wondering if maybe like going after the mage more and trying to grip the mage to the pillar when you see him blink or something could be better for them.
Yep, and I think, okay, we have sent the queue now, so hopefully the teams are both ready. Looks like we're going into Dalaran Sewers. One thing I would definitely like to see, like one thing we identified during this series was that Zonica could not land a Hodge. Like, it was not possible. The Elemental can knock him away, the Mage just CCs him when he crosses the map, so Tag Titan would get strangulated, and then there would be no more CC, and that actually cost them the game at one point. There was one point where Nixie, who was playing the Elemental Shaman for ABC, was about 30% HP. He didn't have his rage available. There's no trinket for Tag Turkin. Zonica was just chasing him around the pillar for ages and ages, trying to get that Hodge. Tag Turkin was just, like, obviously losing him. Maybe if we did see Jingo just kind of grip Tag Turkin in either to FedEx's stuns or into the Hodge before the Strangulate, something like that. Like, I know it's a setup that Cervantes' team does quite a lot. I would like to see that, but obviously we're not going to see it in this game because Zonica's actually swapped over to that Restoration Shaman, feeling like the healing throughput from the Holy Paladin maybe wasn't enough, but we could still see a similar strategy. They could definitely grip him into FedEx's stuns, and that's something I would really like to see coming out from this side.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, like, resto shamans are really good against elemental shamans. They can dispel their flame shocks, which increase the damage of their lava bursts. And as long as Zonica is able to like spam dispel all of these flame shocks off, he'll be able to get ahead. But already Zonica caught in a deep freeze. Good paralyze actually on a Daisy Duke, stopped the sheep, and now they're building some pressure over onto the elemental shaman. And interesting, they're actually going to be playing asphyxiate, so the Death Knight's running the stun as opposed to a silence. So Tog Turkin was caught in a stun. They cross CC'd the elemental shaman with a leg sweep stun, and they got a lot of pressure, forcing the shamanistic rage already. And we see an Iron Bark actually used on the Daisy Duke, and another one are splitting their damage. We've got FedEx on the mage, and we've got Jingo on the elemental shaman, but Jingo actually just got knocked down out of line of sight, just getting so much damage thrown his way. But Zonica had that Earth Shield up. He was ready for the damage, going to Riptide him back to full as we start to stabilize. But being down this shamanistic rage, being down this Iron Bark is going to be pretty detrimental.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the thing is, like, another one just looks so stable this game. That's the difference. There's no real pressure onto Jingo right now. The Shaman's just doing such a good job. Zonica, of course, able to swap over to that Restoration Shaman. And he's doing such a good job of just keeping Jingo stable. He's able to spell those flame shocks. He never has one open. And they just need to keep stopping these deep sheeps from Daisy Duke. Now Daisy Duke's forced to kind of commit to that CC because they can't just kill with raw damage. And that means that ABC have to run into another one, which means that they're the ones that are exposed. We do see the Trinket coming out from Tag Turkin now, but Nixie dropping so low, he might have to die anyways. The Execute barely dispelled in time. The Shamrage is the overlap with that Trinket. This is so bad for ABC. They don't have anything left really, and they haven't forced a single cooldown, to be honest, out of another one just yet.
I like this split DPS strategy from another one, just interrupting Frostbolts on cooldown, interrupting Lava Bursts, denying damage. Every time we see Ahmed Bull go for these Thunderstorms on Jingo, he gets a lot of pressure. Maybe that's their setup to win on this map, but Tog Turkin blinking in. What's he looking to get done with it? He goes for the bash. It does get Nimble Brewed by FedEx, so they're going to clone him up instead. A Polymorph on Zonica, clone on FedEx. Jingo completely alone. He's still going offensive. Is this going to be the right move here? He doesn't have very many cooldowns to survive. He's at half HP. Zonica finally leaving the chain, is able to get some heals rolling here. We see a paralyze on Tog Turkin, once again isolating the mage and the elemental shaman, but this elemental shaman is just going to pop his Ascendant, just chucking out lava bursts over and over at Jingo, really focusing him down very hard. He's forced to run back to the box. He's trying to get out of line of sight. Will he get out in line of sight in time? He does, and we can see FedEx pulling back, but he gets cloned up by Tog Turkin. He's not able to get back to his team. A deep freeze over onto Zonica. They follow it up with a sheep, and Jingo is in a 3v1 situation, but they break the sheep. I don't know how they ended up breaking the sheep there, but now they have to follow up with a clone, and Jingo's going to look very tanky now with no more crowd control available. They're going to use the stun over onto Tog Turkin. Daisy Duke is on the run. We see a little bit of pressure over onto Ahmed Bolt as well. Tog Turkin's going to trade out the Iron Bark to deal with this damage from Jingo's Pillar of Frost, so I think that's a good trade from him.
I just feel like another one don't quite have the CC. Like, I think they could easily finish off this game if they could somehow land the stun onto Tag Turkin and then follow up with a Strangulate. But of course, instead, they've opted for that Asphyxiate spec, which means they just don't have the CC to finish him off with. We do see him dropping quite low right now. The full cycling onto Zonica does force the Trinket link out. Jingo did not have the AMS available for a solid 6 seconds, but now the pressure's over. Daisy Duke is so low, blocking on about 6% HP there. He does have another one available, of course. They should be okay for now. Tag Turkin's Trinket is also available, but now we see Nixie dropping low. He does have that Shamrage available, but he's at about 50% HP. The Incap comes out on Tag Turkin. Can they follow it up with the Asphyxiate? Instead, they do the leg sweep, but unfortunately it was DR. So much trouble onto Daisy Duke and Nixie, though. The NS does come out, the Shamrage coming out. Lots of defensive cooldowns trade out by ABC, but they still have Tag Turkin's Trinket, crucially, as well as an Ice Block for Daisy Duke. But ultimately, it looks like another one are doing quite well, despite Zonica's Trinket not being available.
Yeah, FedEx is actually going to pull back. Maybe they're looking to set up a drink, but Zonica is moving forward. Maybe a miscommunication. He's caught down on the ramp. He's going to use that anti-magic shell to absorb some damage. Who are they going to set up on here? It seems like they're making a swap to the rest of Druid, but Jingo's just taking so much damage. He has no pillar to hide behind. Lava bursts are flying in. He's looking to go down here. The Fulmination connects. Zonica's caught into a sheep. Jingo's trying to get back behind the pillar. Still down at 29%. What did he manage to steal there with that Dark Sim? I guess we're going to find out pretty soon. Maybe it wasn't anything too fruitful. He's trying to get out of line of sight, but still so much damage following up. He's just trying to save himself with these death strikes. He's going to grip him in. Zonica gets the Spirit Link, stabilizing his team, but another knockback from Ahmed Bolt is going to split up the team. They're just bursting Jingo down. He's trying to line of sight with the little line right here, but it's still not enough. Tog Turkin moves in. He goes for the bash on the Zonica. Is he going to get the clone? No, he gets shut down by Jingo. Both healers caught in a stun. Seems like they're going to go on to Tog Turkin. Can they follow it up with any damage? No, he's going to pre-Iron Bark himself, expecting the Fist of Fury, but they do manage to bait that Iron Bark out. Now with that on on cooldown. Maybe they can make something happen here. It seems like ABC, CEST123 have found their center, though. Kiting these melee down below the stairs seems to be the best position. It's the furthest away from the box. And you can see Jingo's just like, do I go down the stairs? I mean, I could die down there. I don't know. Maybe I should go back to the box. I'm going to come back. And he's just doing nothing. They've got him in a position where he just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, Jingo really is unable to do anything. We do see him LOSing now. That's probably actually his best choice because he doesn't want to commit unless Zonica follows him, and Zonica doesn't want to follow him because he just gets CC'd every time. A nice capacitor stun. Unfortunately, misses Zonica though, so they're not going to commit to that. But it was a good try from Nixie. It looks like another one are really struggling now. Like you say, ABC have found a nice position where they can kind of avoid the team. I think Zonica has to push in for them to get any pressure going. The NS does come out from Tag Turkin there as well as the Shamrage. They do kind of commit to Nixie there. But I would like to see Zonica maybe even pushing into the opposite pillar. I feel like he has to push in with his team, otherwise they're not going to be able to do anything. Look at Jingo's HP right now. He's quite stable because Zonica's there with him. Zonica taking the stairs. He does expose himself to sheeps though, and there it is, the first sheep coming out from Daisy Duke. Jingo is in a bit of trouble here, down to 70%, but Zonica does have cooldowns available. He has his trinket. He almost has the link. The DR Hex though, he might have to use his trinket. The AMS coming out so low from Jingo, and the greedy play doesn't look like he's going to pay off. The Deep Priest to follow that up. There's nothing else. There's no Cyclones. Tag Turkin cannot push in right now. His team is taking so much damage, and this is where Zonica needs to push in. He's on the full sheep DR right now. Jingo looks like he's going to be fine. The Frost Shot to follow it up though. The link is available, and he does actually have to use that Dwarf link. He needs to push in now. I want to see another one running at Tag Turkin, try to put him under as much pressure as possible. He doesn't have Trinket. The Shamrage is now available for Nixie again, which he is going to have to use. But after that, there's no cooldowns available for ABC, and another one could look to end this.
Yeah, but Zonica as well doesn't have very much remaining. He's caught into a Frostjaw silence on the opposite side of the map, and Jingo is just taking so much damage. Offmed Bolt just putting these earthquakes down on the ground to try and stun him up. Unfortunately, not getting any procs. Jingo not taking too much damage just yet. Here it comes, down to 30%, but with no CC on Zonica, he should be able to deal with it. They just cut right through that AMS almost instantly. We see Tog Turkin getting gripped into that stun. He's going to trade out the Bark Skin. Now with no Bark Skin and no Trinket, Tog Turkin is very vulnerable to the next attack. He has to be careful. He's positioned very well right now, far away, but if he sneaks in a little bit too far, Jingo and FedEx could just kill him instantly. He's got to be careful. We see defensive polymorphs on FedEx right now. I like that. Just take control of the Windwalker, focus single target on the Death Knight. He seems to be the easiest target to kill, but they're setting up over onto Offmed Bolt at the moment here with no Shamrage for 4 more seconds. Tag Turkin is forced to trade out the Iron Bark. Now, Tog Turkin has no Iron Bark. He has no Bark Skin. He really has nothing to deal with a swap if they're able to connect onto him whatsoever. In the meantime, though, FedEx just can't play his character, just getting cloned up. There's the Paralyze. Are they going to set it up? Oh, I would have loved to see a leg sweep out of this Paralyze. He's in the perfect position, primed up and ready. I feel like the Elemental Shaman is going to be too tanky for this attack, and Jingo's just in the middle of the map. He's going to go down. I don't think the AMS is going to be enough. He's taking so much damage. Zonica caught into a bash. They follow up with a clone. Zonica trinkets out of that right away, but Daisy Duke at the same time forced to block. FedEx trinketing aggressively, forcing that ice block. Both teams just under a lot of pressure right now. Jingo going back to the pillar, realizing that exchange maybe wasn't favorable. He's down a lot of cooldowns. He's trying to reconsider, maybe just kill the water elemental behind the pillar, and they've got to figure out what they want to do, because now Tog Turkin has his trinket, he has his Bark Skin, they have Sham Rage. It's actually not looking very good for another one.
Yeah, I completely agree that maybe they missed an opportunity onto Tag Turkin there. He had no hearts in that in-cap, like you said. Maybe they could have swapped it over onto him, and now they're in a lot of trouble. Zonica had to use his trinket there. FedEx used his trinket offensively to force the block, but there's another one available for Daisy Duke. So this looks very good for ABC. They have a lot of cooldowns. Like you say, every single member of their team has a defensive cooldown that can essentially save them. It looks like they're going for the Deep Freeze, but a nice stop from Jingo. The Death Grip able to deny the sheep onto Zonica. Can they get any follow-up anyways? The Grounding Totem is used to deny CC. The double stun now coming out. This is good crossies here. Good turnaround from another one. They could potentially kill Nixie here. The Shamrage might not be enough. He's down to about 30% HP. The in-cap to follow it up. They don't have anything off it though, since they're not running the Strangulate. The heal gets locked, but it looks like he might be able to survive. The NS coming out barely in time, stabilizing him at about 40% HP. Should be able to top him off here, but Tag Turkin, as I say that, does get gripped in. He's so low, down to 20%. Shamrage has expired. The Iron Bark might not be enough. He's down to 10%. Already healing. The DR in-cap, is he going to go down? 5%. Surely he's going to pull the Fist of Fury. Is going to kill off Nixie. Dampening was just too high for the healing to go through, and it actually looks like with this Resto Shaman, maybe another one can just about survive long enough. If Jingo can connect to his target, they can eventually get the kill in Dampening. through Tag Turkin's heals, and that was actually through the Heart of the Wild heals in the end that they did secure that kill.
I like the strategy too, just having a melee on each caster. So FedEx was really harassing Daisy Duke, not letting him cast freely with the Frostbolts or the Polymorphs, interrupting him. And at the same time, Jingo, sitting on the Elemental Shaman, just stopping him from lava bursting, breaking up his damage. And FedEx can use his Storm, Earth, Wind, and Fire, whatever the name of the cooldown is, to split himself. So he can copy himself and put his body on another target as well. So he's hitting two people at once. And he had his image on the Elemental Shaman at the same time he was hitting the Mage. So both of those casters had reduced healing effects on themselves, and he was DPSing both of them. And that way Jingo was getting more pressure as well. So I really think the strategy choice for another one, switching in the Shaman as well to deal with the Elemental Shaman, was really smart by another one. I like that they tried that, and they had a good strategy for it.
Yep, and that was a really back and forth game because we saw FedEx, of course, Jingo dropping quite low a few times. Zonika's trinket was forced out a few times. There was a period of play in that game where ABC looked like they figured it out. At the start, another one looked really good. They were forcing a lot of cooldowns. They weren't really taking any damage. Zonika was just able to sit back, dispel flame shocks. It looked fine for them. But then there was that period where we saw ABC kind of fall back a little bit, drag another one into them, and then they would push, and they just got their deep sheep every single time. They had so much pressure onto Jingo, he was barely living the setups. They forced 2 links out in 2 setups in a row, and they almost killed him straight after that. But then it's really nice to see both these teams are adapting mid-game. Like, they don't have time to talk about it, obviously in between the games. If it's start happening, if you start losing in the game and you need to work something out, that's where a good player will identify something that's wrong, and one of them will have made the call that they need to push in there, and they did push in. And after that, ABC just couldn't really get the breathing space they needed. They still had the pressure, of course, because the Elemental Mage was still doing a lot of damage, but they were always under some sort of threat. The fact that the DK and the Windwalker could even swap to Tag Turkin, like, it was causing him to get less Cyclones out, which was meaning that the ABC couldn't get the damage out or the CC out they needed to finish off the game, even when they were so close. And in the end, no ladder players, another one, were able to take the game. And I feel like that was maybe just because of the small map.
Yeah, I
like
think
I
the
said,
map
they
is
were
a
able to
huge
sit on
advantage.
top of them. I think if they get a bigger map, that might be slightly harder to do.
I mean, like, there was one moment where they had Jingo just like a lost little puppy. He was like, "Do I go to you or do I go to you?" Like, Zonika's at the pillar, like, "I want to save you, I want to save you," but then FedEx is on the DPS, like, "Get over here, kill these people," and he just like waddling back and forth. He didn't know what to do. And now on a big map like Tolvaron, that space gets even bigger. So I don't know. I feel like Tolvaron, that's not going to work as well for them. So I think that if they have maybe if Jingo can play a different class or FedEx could play a different class, that they might want to try that, because if they go to Tolvaron Arena with those 2 melee classes, I think they're just going to get obliterated. So I'm really curious to see if they're going to have any more surprise classes or if they're going to just rely on playing that strategy out, because I think it's going to be rough.
You have to remember that ABC are known for their RMD, and when you swap to that Restoration Shaman, that is a big target for a potential RMD coming out of ABC. I think maybe this is a mistake from them. The game was close, and this is a bigger map, so like we were kind of saying, they can just win on this big map. They can sit back, they can PvE, play the long game, and probably take the game. But at the same time, I feel like RMD just has a really strong matchup against the Shaman version of this comp, because there's no offensive bobs. They can kind of shut down FedEx, I feel like, quite a lot. They can easily kill Zonika or FedEx or Jingo. I also think they're less, how should I say, they're less robust with the Resto Shaman against RMD. I would like to maybe see them swap it over onto their main comp right now. I think this is the time to do it. And if they can just take that matchup with the RMD, then they essentially are going to win the series, right? Because that forces Zonika back onto the Holy Paladin, and then they can run the Ellie Mage in Game 5. So
I mean, I think if they were going to do that, they shouldn't have picked Tolvaron, because Tolvaron, I think, would be better for the Ellie Mage. I think they should have picked Tiger's Peak if they were planning to play RMD. But
Yeah,
I still think they can win with this on this map. Like already they've got Jingo and FedEx in the middle of the map, and that's where they want them. They can just tee off on them, and it seems like FedEx and Jingo are single targeting down the LE this time. They're not splitting their damage up, and they've already forced him to use his Shamanistic Rage. He's down to below about half HP. Tog Turkin's kind of struggling actually to deal with this, just casting Regrowth over and over to top him, finally topping him off. Now Daisy Duke has Icy Veins up. I would imagine that he wants to blink in here shortly, but now he's even getting swapped to down to half HP, but Jingo's still taking a lot of damage, forced to use his AMS. We see a Paralyze over onto Tog Turkin. Daisy Duke is going to have to block. I think he's going to blink away. He gets grip back. Soul Reaper going to trigger. Caught in the Fists of Fury. Now forced to Ice Block. And another one, despite the map disadvantage, they're forcing a lot of cooldowns.
Yeah, and I think he could have tried to be greedy with that block there. Tag barely got the Dispel on the execute just before it triggered, but he was so low, I can understand the decision. But they're not able to get any CC on Zonica. This big map isn't working out that well. Having said that, though, the double cap stun and the deep freeze is going to land that first sheep onto Zonica, and the AMS to answer that from Jingo looks like he's going to be okay. Can they get the Cyclones? It doesn't look like it. Tag getting into position. Maybe he can actually land it. He does get it. He commits the blink for it, though, so Jingo is getting behind the pillar. Looks like he's going to be okay. And this big map, whilst it does give ABC the ability to run away, at the same time, another one seemed quite confident running as well. Jingo actually coming back into loss for a second, maybe thinking the CC chain was over on Zonica. Of course, the bash meant that it wasn't. But it looks like he's going to be okay anyways. Now they can push in. Zonica kind of sitting back at his pillar. FedEx taking a bit of damage right now, down to 50% biz. Daisy Duke is taking the brunt of it. A nice pre-iron back from Tag Turkin, however, means that he's not going to have to use his second block for now. And they're just maybe going to fall back. It looks like FedEx kind of retreating. I feel like FedEx should be the one that's in their face, though, rather than Jingo, because Jingo is the kill target.
The LA Shaman actually wasted his Thunderstorm there into the Pillar of Frost, so you can't be knocked back when you have Pillar of Frost, and now that he doesn't have Thunderstorm, maybe they could set something up with a Fist of Fury. He throws the Capacitor Totem in, gets a stun on FedEx, they're going to clone him off of that, but Jingo's already on the run, and it seems like once you get glued to the Pillar, the LA Mage damage kind of just loses its value. It's very hard to get it off if you just keep line of sighting it like this. I mean, at the same time, obviously, these guys aren't doing damage hugging the Pillar, so it's a bit of a trade-off. They're going to grip the Ellie Shaman in and immediately trades out that Shamanistic Rage. I think it might have been a smart move, but he won't have it for Pillar of Frost. Jingo could do a lot of damage moving forward here, but he's on the run again. A full Hex on his Zonica, and Jingo's trying to get out of line of sight. FedEx portals back to the Pillar. He wants to support him, maybe off-heal him a little bit, trying to get out of line of sight, and they're pretty reluctant to get off the Pillar at the moment here. Zonica had to trade out his Ascendance. I don't think his Ascendance is necessarily a major cooldown for this matchup. His Spirit Link and his Trinket are much more valuable.
Yeah, this is one thing though that you have to be really careful about when you run Mage Shaman. The Hex and the Sheep interact such that if you Hex and Sheep at the same time, the second one will always remove the first one and it will be DR. So that's what happened there on Zonica. They got the Deep Freeze. Nixie and Daisy started casting Hex and Sheep, and the Sheep was actually overlapped with the Hex, which meant that there was only a 4-second CC, completely wasting the DR. So this is maybe like a little issue that's happened because they don't have too much synergy. This is the first time we've seen them run this comp, of course. It is an interesting interaction because normally if you overlap CCs like that, the longer one just kind of stays. But this is, I think, the one example in the game where that's not the case. So slightly unfortunate for ABC. That's going to force them to retreat here. But a nice grip onto Nixie means that he's kind of out of their pillar. They can PvE him quite a lot here. They're going to force the Sham Rage out from him, so he should be okay for now. But if they can do that, maybe they can just kind of win the game like that. They need to be able to drag them to their pillar, I feel like, if Zonica's not willing to cross the map, and I can completely understand why he isn't. A nice in-cap onto Daisy Duke's going to deny that Deep Sheep, though. So another setup from ABC kind of goes to waste, and this means that another one should be looking to push, and I'd really like to see Zonica crossing the map, but like I say every single time, he does expose himself so much if he goes for that. The Icy Veins from Daisy Duke is just spamming out the Sheeps right now, but Zonica's just able to lost with that big pillar. Jingo's with him the whole time. It just seems so hard for ABC to win this game, but I don't know. I feel like if another one keep playing like this, they're not necessarily going to win it in the near future either, and we're going to have quite a long game on our hands.
This is looking to be a fairly long game. We can see the Elemental Shaman moving forward. They want to get CC on Zonica, but he's put himself in a very good spot behind the pillar there. It's kind of hard to land it, so let's see if they can get it anytime soon. We see a Deep Freeze is available, but a triple leg sweep out from FedEx. They could set up a lot of damage here potentially. They're going to go for the Paralyze actually onto Daisy Duke on that Deep. They deny the Polymorph. I actually really like that Paralyze. It's going to keep Zonica mobile to get some heals because Jingo is dipping dangerously low there. Zonica gets a clutch heal with that Ore Mastery, tops him off, and we see Daisy Duke on the run trying to pull back with Tog Turkin. We can see the Elemental Shaman running away as well. They want to pull Jingo and FedEx in the middle of the map. They've been doing a good job holding them here, but they're not getting too much damage just yet. It seems kind of strange. Now Jingo finally taking some damage, but at the same time, the Elemental Shaman forced to use his Shamanistic Rage. It seems like Jingo's on the run, doesn't want to expose himself too much there, getting now behind the pillar. It's interesting, though, that Zonika's very low on mana. He may even want to try and set up a drink. You know, a drink could also bait them in. Like, if he goes down for a drink, the mage might blink in to try and stop it. They could punish him for that blink. I'd really like to see him sit down for a drink, and he is. He's sitting down. Dizzy Duke's coming in, goes for the Blizzard instead, not going to overextend, denying him from getting that mana back, because it seems like ABC can actually kind of just dampen these melee slowly but surely. We see a stun over on Tog Turkin. They're trying to build up some pressure onto the mage. Daisy Duke, he's still trying to kite them into the open. The Fist of Fury blinks out of that right away, gets grip back on the blink, but Jingo now in trouble, down below 50% HP. Zonika caught in a deep freeze, but he doesn't follow it up with the sheep. I believe that was interrupted by FedEx, and FedEx is doing a good job all game just shutting Daisy Duke down on these deeps, but I just think eventually, like, dampening is going to stack, and Jingo's self-healing is going to be so low that they're going to be able to kill him.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that maybe this isn't the right approach from another one. I think ABC can just play this dampening game, but at the same time, another one can definitely ride a momentum. If they can get the rage and then just kind of tunnel Nixie down, we saw it in the last game that they can kill through Tag Turkin's heals if those damage reduction cooldowns aren't available. We do see Daisy dropping quite low. The NS comes out from Tag Turkin, is going to stabilize him for now. And again, now this means Jingo is the one under threat. He doesn't have the, or he does have the AMS available right now, but he's kind of using it to exchange for Zonika's drink, and it didn't do too much. So if they can get CC onto Zonika here, they could potentially set something up there. It looks like he's quite content, sitting back, putting the grounding totem, spamming out the riptides. Jingo is dying through it, though. There is a bit of dampening. He's down to 30%. He might have to use a Spirit Link right here. He gets deep freeze. He has to use the Trinket Link. Nice play from ABC. Another one having to trade out a lot of cooldowns there to survive. And this is what we talked about. If they can just kind of play this long game, maybe eventually the dampening is going to stack high enough that Jingo cannot be out-healed. He can't out-heal himself, and Zonika's healing isn't enough. His mana is also quite low. We see the pressure onto Daisy Duke right now, dropping to about 30% HP, forced into that ice block with just the stun on Tag Turkin. So both sides getting affected by this dampening right now. And the game is starting to get a little bit more, I want to say cutthroat, perhaps, just because of this dampening. So both healers are struggling a little bit more. Jingo's seeing lower HP. We can see Tag Turkin is still higher on mana, but I feel like Daisy Duke still has the block available. I really think that another one, if they want to kill anyone right now, it needs to be Nixie. They need to get his Shamrage, and then they need to just try kill through the heals. They're also going to shut down his damage like that, and I think otherwise Jingo is going to be the first one to fall.
I feel so bad for Jingo. He just looks like a little puppy dog. He's like, I want to go out and play, I want to go out and play, and then Zonika's like, no, come back, you're going inside, and he goes right back to the pillar. And he's just trying to get out of line of sight. Here comes a deep freeze, though. They get the full sheep. This could be really trouble for Jingo or FedEx if they can commit a lot of damage here. Daisy Duke with the pre-Iron Bark. Will that even be enough? He's getting just destroyed. Tag Turkin struggling to heal him back up. Jingo at the same time is overextending into the middle of the map. Maybe they could punish him for this. He's down to 50%. Zonika has no more mana remaining. I think at this point, they just have to commit everything. They've got to push across the map because Zonika can't keep this going. Maybe they're going to look for a drink, but now Jingo's caught in the middle of the field. What is he going to do? He's trying to get back to the pillar. He's down to 8%. That's not going to be enough. Zonika barely getting a heal to keep him alive. He pre-links the poly, breaking himself out, and he's going to be able to keep his team alive, but for how much longer with 1% mana remaining?
Yeah, his mana has really been the story of this game, and I'm actually surprised that's what it's coming down to. I guess he's having to heal through a lot of damage. They're actually swapping it over onto him. This could easily be the game. He's down to 5%. He will fall. So much burst damage coming out from him. He had to charge in to get that Spirit Link, and he was never really able to get back to where he needed to be to survive that. And the mana was ultimately the thing that cost another one. Maybe they could have looked earlier for drinks. I feel like he went for his first drink when he was already 20% mana. Maybe one of those several times Jingo went back should have been when he first looked for that. But how do you think the game was going if he didn't drink? I think if he didn't have the mana issue, I think they were actually starting to get quite far ahead. I mean, Daisy Duke was forced into his last block, I believe, and Tag Turkin used his NS and Ironbark and still wasn't able to heal the damage. They were getting to that win condition where the damage was just too high, the healing was too low due to dampening. But at the end of the day, Zonika just ran out of mana. He needs to get those drinks earlier in the game, I think. If he can get those, they can definitely win. Yeah, and that was the biggest map.
Not only just to get mana to stay alive, but when he's sitting down for drinks, the other team has to stop him. And that could be the one way that they get them to fight on the pillar. So, like, right now, Daisy Duke and Ahmed Bold, or Nixie is his rogue's name, just keep cutting back to the middle of the map. And if Zonika is just like, okay, you blink to the middle of the map, I'm going to sit down for a drink, suddenly somebody has to come back to stop him. Like he might have to blazing speed to get in to stop the drink, and suddenly the mage has no more mobility, and you can get to hit him for free and get to fight him where you want to fight him. So yeah, I think Zonica trying to set up drinks would have been a really good strategy on this map to try and get them to come and fight on the pillar.
Yep. I mean, I don't know. I think the fact that it's such a big map does make it quite hard for them. But I've said this time and time again. I'm sure people have picked up on it. That I would love to see another one try to play on top of ABC. Like I think if Zonica can somehow, if they can somehow get him across the map, maybe they could put an incap onto Daisy Duke or something, just to like allow him to chase them. But maybe they think that he's just going to get CC'd, and I can understand that. Maybe he just can't cross the map on a map that big, but if they choose something smaller now, they can definitely try sit on top of Tag Turk and put more pressure on him, because until dampening, at least he's having such an easy time. He's just sitting back, they're not even running the Strangulate. He gets stunned every now and then, he gets incapped every now and then, but that's it. Like, he can just heal through majority of the damage. His team barely has to use cooldowns, trading out the odd Sham Rage here and there, and it's just so easy for them defensively that it allows them to just think about how they're going to kill off another one, and they're going to do it at some point, because they have a lot of damage as early mage. So I mean, I don't know. On a smaller map, I think ABC can certainly fall behind if another one does go in, but the problem is they're 2-1 down, and ABC is going to get the last map choice if that happens.
I mean, they could always play RMD, like you said. If they see the Shaman version, they could just play RMD instead, and I think they could pull out a win like that. So they still have that kind of trump card. It's another one is kind of, I don't know, like it seems like they've been learning the strategy of beating this team as they're playing through the series, rather than just having like a strategy ahead of time. It seems like they've just had to adapt, and that's mostly because ABC surprised them with the Ellie Mage.
Yep.
I don't think they were expecting them to be able to play it. They've played RMD in every single tournament. This is the first time we've seen them play a different comp. So Nixie's just learned an alt class. He learned the Elemental Shaman, and I think it's working out for them. They're able to deal with this cleave very effectively, and now Zonica's team have to figure out what they want to do strategically. If they get Zonica on Shaman, they run the risk that they could play RMD and just train him into the ground. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Seems like Tiger's Peak is going to be the map choice for the Windwalker DK, and as soon as we zone in, I'm interested to see what kind of comps we're seeing. Okay, the exact same thing, nothing too new. Still the Elemental Mage Resto Druid and the Windwalker DK with a Resto Shaman instead of a Holy Paladin. So let's see if another one can pull this back and tie the series, or will they fall to the Finger Wiggler Wizard Bolts of ABC Easy as 1, 2, 3. We will find out here shortly on Tiger's Peak.
Yep, and of course this could be a game that sees ABC. This is their first actual GPL showing. Of course, they did get a bye in the first round thanks to Speechless being unable to compete, but they could potentially go into the top 3 here if they win this one game. So this would be a very strong start for them going into tomorrow. It's such a good confidence boost if you can just go into that upper bracket final and know you're in the top 3 instantly. It's a lot of GPL points. It's a good position to be in, and the fact that they've got this early mage as well as the RMD, we talked about it already for Reawakened. It's such a good set of comps to be at a multi comp, because they do answer a lot of each other's weaknesses. Of course, the Windwalker DK, like we were talking about, is slightly difficult for the RMD. So the Elemental Mage does seem to be the answer that they needed. This is their old comp even, so they're doing quite a good job of making it work out. Zonica, with his Restoration Shaman, though, has been able to answer it. They're currently tied 1-1 in this particular matchup, as we do see Nixie dropping kind of low. The Sham Rage comes out, he's about the 50% HP. Looks like he's going to be okay for now. Tag Token just sitting back. This is the kind of thing we've seen every single game. But Tag Token's actually used a lot of mana. Jingo dropping quite low right now. And they actually have to use the Spirit Link. He pre-Spirit Links the Sheep, not having to use the Trinket though. So the fact there was a small gap between that Deep Freeze and the Sheep does allow Zonica to hold his Trinket there. And Jingo took a lot of damage.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to burn through the Elemental Shaman for now, just focusing all their damage on him. Daisy Duke was able to blink away from that stun, I believe. It looks like they're unloading a lot of damage onto Jingo right now. Tog Turkin blinks in, he goes for the bash, and Jingo could fall. Zonica trinkets out of the bash. What does he have to keep him alive? He's just spamming Riptide. He really doesn't have anything else to heal through the damage. It seems to be enough for now. Jingo's pulling back to the balcony, but he's still just getting destroyed. Ahmed Bolt is just annihilating Jingo. He's going to fall, and Zonica doesn't link in time. And ABC Easy as 1, 2, 3 are going to claim victory with a 3-1 in the series and advance, and another one are going to go down to the losers bracket.
Yeah, I thought he had the AMS available there. I mean, he was taking so much damage for such a long time. I thought, I mean, he can't have, right? Like the UI looked like he did there. Maybe it just came up at the split second that he died, but that's so unfortunate for them because, like, where was that damage in the other games? The Ellie mage, not only did they, like, we've seen them have the burst, we've seen them drop Jingo to 20% and then he gets some heals and he's just about okay. But here it was a good 10, 15, 20 seconds of just damage, damage, damage. He just they couldn't sustain him. They had to use the second link. They really didn't want to, though. They just used the first one.